Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Football Fignuts podcast. This is Season 3, Episode 47. If you counted them all, it's 147. I'm Craig.
And my name is Britt, and if you're hearing a quieter tone from the two of us tonight, folks, it's because we do have a very serious topic that we want to address right off the bat. The purpose of this podcast is to entertain, to talk about football, to talk about beer, and to give you 45 minutes away from your daily life that you can just listen to other people talk about stuff. But what's going on out right now in the world is just too intense for us to completely ignore. COVID-19 came and we discussed it, but we kind of tried to steer clear of it. We may have mentioned it at times in our podcast. The devastation and the protests that have arisen out of the death of George Floyd are simply too much for us to ignore. So we are going to take a couple of minutes right here at the beginning of the podcast to just express how we feel and let folks know we are not going to ignore this situation. I was reading an article before we came online today from that Chris Ballard, the GM of the Colts, gave an impromptu Zoom session for the press today. And his quote, I'm just going to read his quote. This comes out of his Zoom today. Quote, "I can't sit here and remain silent because that's exactly what we've done every time our black community screams and yells for help. We have to end social injustice and racial inequalities. We have to end the police violence against our black communities. Black lives matter. I don't understand why that's so freaking hard for the white community to say. Black lives matter. I've been ignorant. I've been ignorant to the real problem, and I'm ashamed of that. I just came to the realization here over the last 10 days with some really hard and difficult conversations that we've had as an organization, as a team, with my family, with my sons. I've been ignorant to the real problem." End quote. I don't know how you can say it better than that. I really don't. And I have spent the last 10 days trying to make sense of everything that's going on, and I can't, other than to simply say it is time for us as a society to start listening to these people who are feeling disenfranchised, whose rights are being violated, and we can't have this happen again. We should have learned this lesson decades ago. And yet here we are. I'm opening a podcast in June of 2020 talking about things that we should have addressed long before I was born. I just can't. Craig, what are your thoughts?
Wow, it's really heavy stuff, and
Yeah.
People are gonna have to have really difficult conversations. We were in high school when the whole Rodney King thing happened.
Oh, yeah.
And then everyone wasn't walking around with a camera in their pocket.
Yep.
It just so happened somebody had a giant camcorder like they used to be with the VHS, and he recorded it from his balcony, and that's the only way people found out what happened.
Yep.
And then the aftermath of that happened, and it was really jarring.
Yeah.
And it's not, something like that was, at that point in time, everyone was like, all right, well, we should change. And, then nothing really did.
We're here 30 years later, and we're still having the same problems. And if anything, they're getting worse.
Yeah.
If anything, they're getting worse.
Yep.
We haven't learned anything. We just haven't. And just to a couple quick more points, because we don't want to dwell on this all night. We are not going to do an entire episode on this. We are here to talk football. We want to entertain tonight, but we can't ignore this. We really want people to know we are here to listen. We are here to change. We are very upset about this. As just members of a society that should be better than this, we are upset. And along the lines of should be better than this, I am going to go on record as saying the response by our federal government to this is absolutely disgusting. Disgusting. That peaceable protest was broken up with chemical weapons because, folks, tear gas is classified as a chemical weapon. And if you want to tell me tear gas was not used on that crowd, then please explain the smoke-filled images, because it's not Loch Ness. We are not getting a rolling fog near the White House, okay? We used chemical weapons because tear gas, which is basically any gas that contains a specific amount of pepper compound, and that's what they said they used, a pepper gas, That's just a fancy way of saying tear gas without admitting you use tear gas. We used it on our own citizens who were sitting there and using their First Amendment rights to congregate and to petition the government for change. They violated your rights in that action. That is disgusting to me. You have compounded tragedy with ineptitude, and I will not forget this in November when I step into the ballot box. There is no way I will endorse this administration going forward. Not that I was a fan of them before.
No,
Craig
he
will tell you,
wasn't.
we have those discussions
Neither was
all
I.
the time. Craig isn't quite as militant as I am, but he doesn't like them either. There's no way. It is despicable. And if you're okay with it, then please, by all means, there are hundreds of other podcasts out there that are not as good as us that you can listen to. But I don't want listeners who sit there and say they're okay with what's going on right now in the world. I'm not. I don't.
No,
I don't.
you can't be.
You can't
Can't
be.
be.
If you're okay with this, then you are part of the problem. And we can't be part of the problem anymore. We have to start being part of the solution. We
Yeah,
have to.
because really, yeah, I think the biggest thing is people don't understand the difference between sympathy and empathy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a huge problem because people think they're interchangeable and they're really not.
Yes.
Like,
And empathy. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
yeah, oh no, I was gonna say, like, sympathy is like, oh, you know, Britt smashes his phone. I'm like, oh man, sorry, that sucks. But then something else happens, and then you put yourself in that person's spot,
Right.
and then you actually think about how they felt, and you feel what they're feeling.
And,
You know?
and empathy, and let's be clear on this. Empathy for us, Craig and I are both Caucasian middle-aged males. Empathy for us in trying to understand systematic racism that some of these people have experienced most of these people, if not all, have experienced their entire lives is near impossible. The old expression, like, you have to walk a mile in somebody's shoes. I can't walk a mile in the shoes of somebody who's been racially profiled. I can hear about it. I can hear their stories. I can empathize with the stories. I can take it in that way. But for us to realistically put ourselves in the spot of a guy getting pulled over for the air quotes crime of being black while driving, end quote, I can't, because I haven't been there. So all I can do is listen and do what I can to fix it. And that's really what we want to do. Craig's right. I don't want to sit here and feel bad for these folks. I want to empathize with them. But can I sit here and pretend I'm going to be able to tell you exactly what it's like to be marginalized? Absolutely not.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's why listening's huge, really.
Yes. And why we have to take this moment in history.
And it's some people, they need to have those hard conversations because maybe they legitimately don't understand.
Yeah.
And they just need to learn.
And
Not that that's easy, but
even I didn't have a full understanding of the scope of this problem until the last 10 days. Even I've been sitting there and saying to myself that this isn't as bad as it looks. It is. It's worse than it looks, because not only do we have this systematic divide, not only do we have hundreds and hundreds of years of this kind of practice that's slowly built up to this watershed moment, but we have no leadership to see us through it. And that is tremendous. That is tremendous. I will go to my grave with the image of Donald Trump misholding a Bible in front of a church and thinking that helped.
upside down
Upside
and
down.
backwards.
Up,
Oh, God.
And his mind grimacing, thinking that was a show of strength. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the 21st century's version of Michael Dukakis riding in the tank.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
How can the guy who set up that photo op
Yeah.
wrote an opinion piece for USA Today thanking the Trump team for taking him off the hook of the worst presidential photo op in history. For those of you too young to know what we're talking about,
man.
1988. The 1988 election, the Democratic challenger set up a photo op to show that he could be a military leader because everyone questioned his military prowess. He rode in a tank and he looked so stupid doing it that it actually injured his chances and he lost the election. The tank thing didn't cost him the election by itself, but it was absolutely a contributing factor. No, his ratings tanked. When people were polled, people were like, nope, I have less faith in him now. It was a significant factor in his loss. A significant factor in his loss. And now people are saying this is worse. We're at a watershed moment in our history. We're doing it without a net.
Yep.
If you are listening to us and you are a person who has been affected by this and you feel like you need to educate people, you know how to find us. Because I'm listening. I sat in on a 90-minute town hall today in my business where our president encouraged everyone to speak up, and I refused to speak. I put into the chat message, I'm here to listen today. Because I wanted to hear from the people who had experienced it. I want to understand what they're doing. So. No,
exactly. And then one, as we kind of come to the end of this part of the podcast, but I just wanted to throw it out there. Emmanuel Echo, I may have pronounced his name wrong. He's a former linebacker. He played for the Browns, the Eagles, and I think he did a year with the Giants.
I remember him. I don't know why I remember him, but his name, I just went, oh yeah, I remember that name.
But he works for ESPN now. So what he did, which I really admire him for doing, on his, you can find him on Twitter with the link. Okay. But for days, he said people asked him, like white people he knows, asked him questions that are really difficult questions and or how they can help. So what he did, he made it's like an 8-minute video. It's just him sitting there on a chair and he's reading people's questions and he's answering them. And he's just saying, these are hard questions and I'm here to help you understand.
And that's what we need.
It's a really good video. It's not that long. He may do more of them. You definitely should check it out.
That's absolutely what we need in this difficult time. So thank you for giving us a few minutes at the opening of this podcast to have this conversation. It is not an easy one to have. As you can tell, I'm a little choked up about it. But as difficult as it is to move forward with this, and we did have the conversation this week at the podcast thread about how to handle this. And one of the ideas on the table was we're not going to record. I put it to Twitter, and I only got 6 people to weigh in, but only one person was like, delay your recording. Everyone else was like, there are enough people talking about this in enough formats. Say what you need to say and get on with the show. So we appreciate your patience with us. We hope that what we've said helps you guys to really understand how serious this is and try to move forward so we can all move forward as a society on this and try to make things better because we can't just move on. We have to do something to make things better. So, all right. So then now that I have that out, and I'll be honest, I'm still not going to have my usual screaming energy level tonight because this is a heavy topic, but we got to move on to something a little bit better. So you know what? Let's go where we always go.
Because we need
Craig, it. Yeah. Oh God, I need a beer tonight. Craig, what are you drinking tonight?
I brought 2 in a little bag, and they're both beers you gave me.
So are the ones I have.
So I'm going to reach in here and grab one.
Okay.
And this one is the Haze Phase.
Oh, Haze Phase from Tribus.
Yes.
You haven't tried. Oh my God, I only gave you one of that. You haven't had that yet?
We're going to open it now.
Oh my God, that's good stuff. While Craig's opening that, I am drinking a beer he gave me, El Segundo's Steve Austin's Broken Skull IPA, which I have had before because Craig gave it to me before, and I enjoyed it. It's a little drier than I like.
It's a West Coast.
It's a West Coast
IPA.
I'm not a huge West Coast guy, but I will not say anything bad about a Steve Austin beer because Steve Austin could break me with his mind. So I'm more interested to hear what you think about the Haze Phase. I really liked that beer. I think it got a 4.5 out of me, maybe a 4.75.
I'm just gonna let it settle in the glass. I poured it kind of quick.
There you go. Yeah, definitely do that. Yeah, that was good stuff. I had one of those last week. I think during the podcast last week when we recorded, I had 2 beers on the cast, and I had a Zoom call with some friends, and I had 3 more beers after that. And I had 5 beers in about 3 hours time, and I was feeling so good. I had forgotten I had the fifth beer, and went into the fridge and opened a sixth beer. And the next morning, I could not remember why I was so hungover. And then I started looking around. I'm like, wait a minute, why are there 6 empty cans?
Oh.
And yeah, that's exactly it.
I remember,
had to go back
folks,
and go, wait a minute,
he's not drinking 6 cans of Budweiser.
No. These are 6 16-ounce craft beer. And one of them was that triple New Money.
Oh.
That's like 11% beer. Oh, my God, forget it. Last week, the day after we recorded, I was miserable and useless, which is not my normal thing. So, all right, so what do you think? It's try this beer. I got to hear what you think of it, because I really liked this beer. To the point
it's
where I almost
good.
went back
It's
to get more.
really juicy, but then it slowly dries your mouth.
Yep.
It's a weird feeling.
It's like the tide going out. You see
Yes.
the wave roll in, and you're like, oh, my God, we're going to get wet. And then all of a sudden, it just pulls back.
Yes, exactly.
But
Very
it's
juicy when you
really
drink
good.
it, though.
What's that?
It's very juicy when you drink it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. My wife liked it. And if my wife likes an IPA, then it's got to be juicy. I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing with her. So, all right, let's talk about some burning hot takes. Let's do one because we're already way behind schedule tonight. Not that there's a ton going on, because there isn't. But, Craig, what have you got for me tonight?
I had it open, and now it went away. Damn it.
All right, then I'll start tonight
You
while
start.
you find that. So, okay. I have been doing – so we're getting on the edge of draft season.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the pay sites are starting to put out stuff. Some of the early rankings are coming out. ADPs fluctuate wildly at this time of year. So I try not to pay too much attention to them, although there are a couple risers and fallers on my list I'd like to talk about. I'm going to give you a list of 5 things.
Okay.
These are hot takes.
All right.
I want you to tell me. I already know which one you is going to say is absolutely not going to happen. So we're just going to assume that, and you'll know the one when I read it.
Okay.
I want you to tell me which one of these is most likely to occur.
Okay.
The first one is that Tua Tagovailoa, I'm still never going to get his name right, starts from week 5 on and ends up being a top 12 QB in fantasy.
These are just
Number 2.
Okay.
What? Yeah, these are just. You tell me which one's most likely.
Okay. All right.
David Johnson will be a top 12 running back. Yep, that's the one I don't think we have to discuss.
Hey, look, beer.
The Bucks are going to break your heart from a fantasy perspective. Number 4, Christian Kirk tops 1,000 yards with at least 8 touchdowns. And number 5, picking up Josh Allen's 5th-year option will become a real question for the Bills after he performs in 2020.
Wow.
Which of those is most likely to happen? Tua starts after week 5 and ends up being a QB1. David Johnson ends up being an RB1. The Bucks break our fantasy hearts. Christian Kirk, 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns. Or the Bills have a difficult decision because of Josh Allen's great 2020.
Wow. I think the Kirk one is probably the most likely to happen.
Okay. Even with DeAndre Hopkins there now?
Possibly.
Okay.
Possibly.
Okay. All right. So I obviously, am I correct in assuming we both think that the David Johnson being a top 12 running back is laughable?
No, that ship sailed.
Okay. I'm with you there. I am actually going to, and here's the problem. I know you weren't going to go with Tua because that would mean Fitzmagic drifts into the background again.
Honestly, that's part of it, but really, it's because the Dolphins have really improved. They had a really good draft, but I don't think they're going to improve that much where he becomes a top 10 quarterback in one season.
Okay. So you could see him potentially becoming the starter.
Yes.
But
yes.
him making that top 12. Okay.
No, not this year.
I think the most likely scenario is the Bucks are going to break our hearts.
They're still the Buccaneers.
And it's quarterbacks on new teams. This is Tom Brady's first new team in over a decade. I know coordinators change, but the Patriots system has been somewhat stable, in my opinion, offensively.
See, now Cinch is yelling at his radio because you just call him a system quarterback.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. Don't Fox News me. Don't put words in my mouth. I didn't say that. I said what I said was he's been in a system that hasn't changed much. He hasn't had to learn a new system. I didn't say he couldn't learn a new system. I said he hasn't had to. That just reminds me of the episode. Remember the episode where Krusty the Clown runs for Congress?
Oh yeah, yep.
And he appears on Fox News, and they just talk to him, and they don't talk to his opponent. And his opponent goes, "I have ideas too," and they're just like, "We're sure you do, comrade." That's it.
Oh man.
I'm not, don't pit me in a corner here. I don't think the Bucks are going to have this tremendous season. I think they might schedule and NFL wise. I don't think it's going to translate fantasy wise. I don't. Now you got Godwin and Evans. Yeah, I think Godwin's going to have a decent season.
Do you think Gronk's going to make a big impact?
On the play where he hits the ground and injures himself, yes. Yes, he will. He's a large human being.
He lost his championship, right? He's done.
Did he?
Yeah.
Who beat him?
I have to look that up.
Air quotes, who beat him? And that's not a knock on wrestling. That's a knock on the whole idea of celebrities holding belts.
Exactly.
Does anybody remember near the end of the WCW days that David Arquette at one point was the heavyweight champion of the world? Does anybody else remember that?
I remember that.
David Arquette, all 124 pounds of him soaking wet, was the heavyweight champion of the world.
He was.
Just let that soak in, folks. This is what happens when you let celebrities participate in wrestling. So
what happened was, just so you know,
yeah,
he lost the title in his backyard. R-Truth pretended he was a landscaper and surprised Gronk, and he beat him.
So R-Truth convinced a referee, because that's the other part of that whole deal. Is anywhere there's a referee, right?
Yep. I don't know who the referee was.
The referee was probably so R-Truth rents 2 costumes or buys 2 jumpsuits to look like a landscaper, one for him and one for the referee.
Yep.
Okay, I'm not even gonna follow that to its logical conclusion because that's just too crazy.
Oh man.
That's Aurora Borealis in the kitchen kind of crazy right there. So, all right. So that was my question. What have you got for me?
So really my question is, where do you see James Conner? Like, he missed 6 games last year for multiple injuries. Do you think him being back this year is going to do anything for the Steelers? Do you think Mike Tomlin doesn't know who he wants his running back to be? Because they have Benny Snell and Jalen Samuel still, and they have 3 other running backs.
I would love to see the Benny Snell thing just blow up, because you and I were big on him.
We were. I mean, we still are.
Last year. And they had that first rushing touchdown in like week 2, and we were like, "Here it comes!" And they didn't get another touchdown. I think the rest of the year.
Give him the ball again.
It kind of was like we got excited way too early for that. I still think that kid has got massive talent and a good potential. Well, and one of the things I want to talk about is early season ADP. Right now, James Conner is the 23rd running back off the board.
Wow.
He was a first rounder last year. In an all running back league, he's a 3rd rounder right now. In an all running back league. Guys like Mark Ingram, like, you know who's going right ahead of him? David Montgomery.
Really?
Yeah. Who's going after him? Le'Veon Bell.
Huh.
So he's caught between a guy who hasn't reached his potential and a guy who wasted his potential filling out applications for Dairy Queen. So I don't – I'll put it to you this way. And we haven't done our rankings yet, so this is just putting you on the spot. How far does he have to fall in a total redraft league for you to say, oh, look, James Conner's there, I better grab him? Because for me, it's got to be like 5th round earliest, and that's being generous. Probably more like 6 or 7.
Yeah, I would say if he's, for whatever reason, he's sitting there in the 5th and 6th round, or the 6th round, really. If he's there, as long as I have what I feel my team needed, I'd probably pick him up.
Let me put it to you in this respect, folks. He's going like 5 or 6 spots after Todd Gurley. And we don't know what to make of Gurley in Atlanta. No clue what I'm doing with Gurley this year. None. So, do I know what he's going to do? No. I'm gonna hold my shares of him where I have him in like keeper and dynasty. As a matter of fact, I believe he's our dynasty running back, and I've got
Is he? I think he is.
0.0 offers, 0 offers for James Conner. I've gotten offers for everyone else on our roster except for him and maybe Blake Bortles, but I think I dropped Bortles, so that doesn't matter. Um, no, I wouldn't take him in a redraft. I would have to be desperate, and I'd have to be saying, well, Raheem Mostert's still there, I guess.
Yeah, it's like, who's your backup running back? Do you start 2 running backs?
It would depend on your system, but yeah, I would be very hesitant to grab him this year. Okay.
Yeah, we have Connor and Montgomery. And Philip Lindsay.
Remember when Philip Lindsay was supposed to be good? Should have traded him in the middle of last year. Should have.
Yeah.
But if I had a nickel for every time, I should have done something in fantasy football. So we have, in all the negative discussion about the world going around us, there is a ray of sunshine that happened this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and you know this, so that thank you for setting up the teaser. I do appreciate you being like, oh, you haven't told me this. You absolutely know this. Craig and our podcast has finally been invited to participate in the Fantasy Cares fundraiser, the Scott Fish Bowl. If you're not familiar with the Scott Fish Bowl, it raises money for Toys for Tots every year. It brings analysts from across the football spectrum in with fans, and I believe it raises money through the fans part of it. We will obviously make a donation ourselves as a thank you for getting into it, but it really helps to unite the industry under a cause of charity. And I can tell you right now, something like this for a podcast like us, which has a very loyal but what's considered smaller following in terms of like the football podcast industry, this is massive. This is massive for us. We are so grateful to have been invited to this. It speaks a lot to the work that we've put in over the last 3 years and the relationships we have tried to build. Since the announcement came out last week, we have added I've had to log on to Twitter 4 or 5 times because my email box is blown up with you have notifications. Why don't you look at your goddamn notifications? And it's always, this guy wants to follow you now, because the word gets out that you just put in the hashtag in one post. We got our invite to the SFBX #SFBX, and all of a sudden people want to follow you. So and hopefully some new folks are going to be logging into us and listening to us. Hopefully this is in their first episode, because the first 15 minutes were probably the most dour 15 minutes of our entire careers.
They were.
But still, it was necessary for us to take that time. So exciting. So I have a further announcement that Craig doesn't know regarding the Scott Fish Bowl. So only one person can helm the team. That's kind of their rule. So
that's fair.
As the executive owner of the podcast, I'm going to do that.
Well, I mean, you got us in, so of course.
And by got us in, meaning I screamed and yelled, why won't anyone let us into this goddamn league?
He did do that.
3 years. Well, I did so politely. To be fair, I registered every year for the last 3 years. I communicated with the folks there, like we'd really love to be in it. When it would pop up on Twitter, I would congratulate champions and say, hopefully we get a chance to play with you next year. I was not trying to brown nose my way in. But it is a great honor to be in this league, and it does so much good work. I mean, every year at the end of the season, they go and they do a shopping trip for Toys for Tots that just is fantastic. So I am very, very excited. So I'm very excited for it. I will tell you this, Craig, you and I are probably going to have to sit down, probably you, me, and honestly, we need to bring in one more person on this. No offense to our fine contributors, but I think we need the source on this one.
Uh-oh.
And I'll tell you why. The Scott Fish Bowl is renowned for having a unique scoring system that changes every year.
Oh.
Every
really?
year they air quote fine tune their scoring system. For example, interceptions by quarterbacks are -4. Well, last year they were -4. If it's returned for a touchdown, it's -6.
6 total, or is that 10
points? 4 for the interception, and 2 more because they scored on it.
Damn.
So unique scoring system. And it's impossible for me to say, okay, here's the scoring system, let's sit down and do it. they're still finalizing the 2020 scoring system. They're sending out invites now. The draft is in July, but I am not. There is no way I am going to be able to put together a redraft strategy off of a system that's that unique by myself. So, and that's why I want to bring in the source, because the source has played in so many different kinds of leagues. He probably has some unique insight. So we might need to make a social distancing trip up to the source's secret lair, which is in the deep wilds of Connecticut, and sit around a table smoking cigars and drinking beers until we figure out how I'm going to attack this league. But
all right, we can do that.
That's a stretch for you. Yeah, that's a stretch for you. You don't like to drink beer and sit around and talk football, so
not at all.
All right,
not at all.
We've got a little bit of time left. I know we ate up a lot of time today with the conversation about what's going on, but this is the time of year where best ball is really in its
now.
hotbed. Yeah.
Quick thing with best ball, who took it over?
I don't think FanDuel's doing it because they own Draft and they absorb Draft into their app. I haven't seen FanDuel opening it yet. I know Yahoo has some.
Oh, they do. We'll have to look into that.
There are other sites too. I want to say My Fantasy League, MFL, might have some, but Yahoo definitely does. Definitely has best balls. I liked Draft because I liked their app. Their app was so phone friendly. I did try to register for one on Yahoo on my phone, and it accepted my entry. And then when I clicked the button that said "Open Draft Room," it told me I needed to open it on a browser.
Oh.
So I can register for a Yahoo account, and I can enroll in a league, and I can get all the way up to draft time, and then I have to go find an iPad or a computer. That's kind of stupid.
Sad.
So, and that was in the Yahoo app. It's not like I was like working on Chrome or something. It was in the Yahoo app. So best ball is happening. For those who are not familiar with best ball is the ultimate lazy man's fantasy football. All you do is draft. Every week, the computer will go in after the games and say his best quarterback was this guy. He starts. His best running backs, that guy. He starts. They do all the work for you. No trades, no ad drops. What you get is what you get.
That's it.
Which we learned learned a hard way last year, when I actually went on a very aggressive draft strategy and only drafted one quarterback.
And that quarterback was Andrew Luck.
And 2 weeks later, in a league where I could not make changes to my roster, we had no quarterback. And the funniest part of that story is we were still in the money, the top 3 spots for the first half of the season. The fact that we didn't have a quarterback did not catch up with us until like week 10.
Yep.
And we still finished 5th out of 10. Everybody who finished after us should be embarrassed themselves. Should honestly be embarrassed of yourself. You finished behind a guy whose quarterback said, "Nah,
I'm done."
And I couldn't pick up another one. That's how good that team was. If we would have won that league, if Andrew Luck had played half a season, we would have won that league.
Yeah, I know. Sad.
So anyway,
Sad.
so I found an article on Fantasy Pros. I really like the guys at Fantasy Pros. They do a fantastic job. The 12 early risers and fallers and best ball leagues. So Craig, I want you to tell me. Let's talk about the risers really quick. Are these guys worth where they're going in a best ball?
Okay.
So the first guy is Miles Sanders. He was going at number 31 overall. In May, he moved up 13 spots. He's now going 18th overall. So that's early to mid second round. Miles Sanders, early to second round.
I would say third round at the earliest.
Which is where he was going. So
yeah.
Why the sudden interest?
I don't know what's happening in Philly.
Protests. I mean, that's what's happening everywhere. I think people are starting to realize that Boston Scott is not a real threat. He's a special teams guy. He's a change of pace guy. As much as Peterson likes multiple backs, although there is rumors, whispers, if you will, that LaShawn McCoy might be heading back to Philly for one last year.
Really?
Whispers on the wind that they how would you like to have the same role you had in KC, but here in Philly for 1 year? You could retire as an Eagle. Whispers in the dark. Okay, so I don't
Miles Sanders did say in May that 2020 is going to be his MVP year.
So say many people. Let me tell you right now, this is the year, Craig, that I win every league I'm in.
Hey, it could happen.
It could happen. It won't, but it could. James Conner, in February, was going in the 6th round. By the end of May, he was going at the end of the 4th. He moved up 19 spots. Did you see the picture of him in the weight room where he looks like he could bench press us with a finger?
Oh, and the picture of his back? Yeah.
Yes. First off, I'm not 100% convinced that's him. Secondly, if that is him, they're going to have to find some new shoulder pads because
they are. The one thing people have to remember is when you bulk up like that, you're not as agile.
But his agility is in the waist down. This guy has never been an upper body agile. He doesn't.
Yeah, so I mean, it really depends.
Sanders.
It depends on your run style. Like,
he's a bowling
you know,
he's a bowling ball.
Like Barry Sanders, like if he got that big, he wouldn't have been able to run the way he did.
Agreed.
So.
Agreed. And when you're telling you when you develop that stringently, one minor injury could take forever to rehab. Take forever. I'm just saying. Juju, his teammate. This is going to shock you. In February, he was going in the 4th round. In May, he was going with the 2nd pick of the 2nd round, number 14 overall.
Wow, that is early.
Why is Connor and Juju moving up, and do you like it? I don't think I don't think
I would do it. Not that early.
6th round for Connor and 4th round for Juju, and a best ball is about right.
Is it because Ben's coming back?
You got to think.
Maybe.
People are seeing something that making these guys move. People are seeing something that making these guys move. And by the way, I want to bitch for a second.
Sure.
And every single person who's putting Joe Mixon in the top 10 overall, stop it. Joe Mixon is our thing.
Damn it.
He's our goddamn secret weapon. And when you start saying, well, Joe Mixon's a first round pick, shut up. That's my job, and I'm not giving that up to anybody. I am very close to, let's put it this way.
Getting back on the train?
I've put coal in the oven. I've put coal into the engine. It's sitting there. The steam is starting to trickle out the top. Just saying. All right. David Johnson.
No.
In February, he was going in the 9th round.
Okay.
In May, he's going in the 5th round.
Stop.
He moves up 49 spots.
No.
Now, the article I'm reading on a Fantasy Pro says, haters are going to hate, right? Bill O'Brien is an idiot. David Johnson is washed. Yes. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. And if I'm a hater for that, then I buy me a T-shirt that says hater.
No,
are you buying David Johnson in the 5th round of a best ball?
No. Right now, Houston has Deshaun Watson, period. End quote. That's it.
And this owner says David Johnson. I'm sorry, this writer says David Johnson will be an NFL comeback player of the year candidate in 2020.
I don't see it.
Nope.
After the past few seasons, I don't see it.
Nope. Even if he is, I'm still not buying him. And I hope he is, because that means in 2021, everyone's going to be ranking him back in the top 10, and I'm going to sit there with my popcorn and take everybody else that you pass on. Because you're convinced that David Johnson can put together 2 back-to-back seasons, which he never has done. Other movers, Drew Lock. Drew Lock was going in the 17th round, probably a QB3. Now he's going in the 13th round. Still probably a QB3, but that's a move.
I can see that. I've heard a lot of good things coming out of Denver, so I can see that.
Cole Beasley. In February, he was a 12th round pick. In May, he's averaging a 7th round pick. I think Cole Beasley is a 7th to 10 round pick.
Yes.
I've always had him there. So, yeah, I'm fine with that movement. I'm fine with that movement. Okay, now people who are falling.
Uh-oh.
Aaron Jones.
Really?
Previously going in the 1st round at 9th overall.
Yeah.
In February.
Mm-hmm.
In May, going at 19th overall. End of the 2nd round. Why is he going a round later in May? And I'll tell you the answer. Because the goddamn Packers drafted a running back.
They did, but I think it's more for insurance, like we discussed last week.
It is. The Packers looked at their offense and went, no. I'll take a running back and a quarterback to go, please.
Just in case.
Just in case. Just in case. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to go out there and have a career year because he's pissed off.
He is, because he realized, he may not be a Packer in 2 years and he's going to need a job.
Yep. Kenny Golladay has dropped a full round. He was going mid-second. He's going mid-third now. Why?
I don't know. Honestly, I haven't heard anything about him in the offseason.
There are rumors that Stafford wants out of Detroit, but they're rumors. I'll take him in the third round. I'll take him in the third round all day long.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
As a quick aside, somebody on Twitter put up that I think the exact tweet was Kenny G is going to have a career year. Somebody was asking for hot takes, and the hot take was Kenny G has a career year in 2020. And I immediately started searching the internet for pictures of the saxophone player Kenny G because I was going to just slap one into response. And by the time I found one, some guy had already beat me. And I was like, oh my God, the greatest joke that ever walked up to my door. Zach Ertz. February, he was a 4th rounder. In May, he's an 8th rounder.
That far?
Drops from 43 overall to 85.
He was one of the top 3 tight ends. What happened?
Is this Goddard, or is this Zach Ertz's perpetual injury, which I like to call Gronk syndrome?
It could be, but
I'll take him in the 4th round. I'll take him in the 4th round. By the 4th round, Kittle and Kelsey are both gone.
Provided Kittle's playing, because he wants a giant contract.
That's a whole. Did you hear that there's a rumor now going around? Let me see if I can find it. That Raheem Mostert is closer to an extension than George Kittle is.
No, it's
the Niners.
Yep.
The Niners want to finish the Mostert extension first to send a message to Kittle. Like, look, you're being unreasonable. This is Raheem. Raheem is not unreasonable. Be like Raheem.
Yeah, he wants a non-tight end contract, so...
Well, that's a problem, because you're a tight end, son. You are a tight end. And if you don't think I catch more like a wide receiver. No, you are a tight end. You are a tight end. End of story. You want to be a wide receiver? Fantastic. We will move you to the slot, and if you duplicate your numbers, then we will pay you like a wide receiver. There is no way. Julian Edelman. In February, 6th round.
Mm-hmm.
In May, 4th round.
Wait, what? He moved up?
He moved up
without
43 spots.
So he moved up without Brady.
Yeah.
No.
Wait a minute. This is supposed to be fallers. Why am I talking? This must be a misprint because it says he moved down 43 spots. All right, we'll skip Julian Edelman. It literally says February 6.05, so 5th pick of 6th round. May 4.10. So you moved down 2 rounds from the 6th to the 4th? That doesn't make a lick of sense. Fantasy Pros, you have a typo. Fix it. So let's move on to John Ross.
Okay.
Craig's fave. Best ball, Craig. Off the top of your head before I tell you, where are you taking John Ross? Give me a roundabout range. Say you can even say something general as 3 to 6 or 10 to 13. What's your range for John Ross?
Because of his injury history,
and a new quarterback,
and they add another receiver,
and they added T. Higgins.
6 to 10.
In February, he was going in the 11th round. In May, he's going in the 15th. Let me just say this right now, folks. If you're in a best ball league and John Ross is sitting in the 15th round, sign off on it. Set the auto pick to John Ross and go get yourself a cold beverage. Because in a best ball, he's a potential league winner.
Oh, he is. Because he'll give you weeks where he gets 24, 2 catches and 24 yards. And then he's going to have a week where he gets 180 yards and 2 touchdowns.
That's exactly it. And you don't have to worry about when he starts in best ball.
No.
You just need to have him on the roster. He is Stephon Diggs from 4 years ago.
Yes. Speaking of cold beverage, I'm going to open the other beer.
I'm still working on my broken skull. This be a one beer podcast for
This
me.
was the New Silent Brewing you gave me, the Therapy Saison.
Therapy session. It's a session pale ale, and I think you're really going to like it. You've been into sessions lately. I thought it was really good. This comes from the source. You can thank the source for this one. I am really curious what you think about this beer because I think you're really gonna like it. And I only gave you one can because I'm not parting with the other can that the source gave me. He gave me 3 cans. I drank one. I said I can give one to Craig.
That was loud.
Was it? I barely heard it. Take a sip because we got one more person to discuss, and then we're going to closing thoughts. Believe it or not. See what happens when you spend 10 minutes on social justice? Episode flies by, but it's good. It's good that we, at least I got to admit, I feel better having expressed that I want to be a part of something bigger than myself. That has nothing to do with football or beer. So.
Wow, that's really good.
It's too good, right?
It's really good.
Their crap is limited release right now because they're just getting started, and they're all the way up in freaking Newtown.
Nah.
Do you know where this brewery is?
I do not.
New Salem is called New Salem because it is on the grounds of the old Fairfield Hills Mental Health Asylum.
Oh, good. So it's haunted beer.
It is likely haunted. As a matter of fact, it's not even in a new building on the grounds. They renovated space in one of the old asylum buildings.
Oh, it's definitely haunted beer.
You are drinking a haunted beer, my friend.
Nice.
There's your title. Haunted beer is your title, folks.
There you go.
But
oh, yeah, you can't see through it, and it's really smooth.
It's smooth for a pale ale, right?
It is. Like, I wouldn't know. Like, if you just handed this to me and you said there was a pale ale, I wouldn't believe you at first.
Right. It is super smooth. And listen, the source himself is not a huge craft beer guy. He's actually gotten more into craft beer the last couple of years because we've gotten into it and stuff like that. But he has a very, and this is not a knock on him, a very limited palate. There's like 5 or 6 beers he likes, and he'll drink. He likes the stuff from New Salem. The way we feel about Two Roads, where we will go there and try anything, that's how he feels about New Salem.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So, all right. Anyway, so I'm glad you like that. I'm glad.
Oh, really quick. Speaking of Two Roads, Kentucky Lightning's out.
Kentucky Lightning came out. Did you see what they want for it, though?
No.
They want almost $11 for a 2-pack.
Oh, I hate 2-packs.
Well, not only that, but
Not 2-pack, 2-packs.
5 and a quarter for a can of take-home beer. I'll pay 5 and a quarter in a bar, but
yeah,
I'm not getting the ambiance. Getting your can of beer. I just
didn't they used to put it in like a craft bottle?
Yeah, they stopped doing that 3 or 4 years ago because it was selling out too quickly. So they went to the smaller units.
I guess that makes sense.
All right, last guy on my dropping
Yes.
list is Carson Wentz. In February, he was going in the 8th round, beginning the 8th round, which puts him in the QB2 range, maybe even a QB1. In May, he's going in round 13.
Really?
A 5-round drop. I don't get it. I think Carson Wentz could have a decent year.
I think so too. I mean, he does have a injury history, but other than that, in best ball, just draft another quarterback.
Exactly. It's best ball, folks. You don't need him to be good all the time. You need to be good some of the time.
Exactly.
That's it. That's it. All right. Well, Craig, we are believe it or not, we are out of time.
Sad.
So, final thoughts for this week.
Final thoughts. I would say, you know what? Remember? Oh, actually, you know what? Hi, Deb. Didn't say that before.
Hi, Deb.
I would say just listen to people. That's all. One thing I will say though, because before I mentioned that having a camera in your pocket wasn't a thing in 1991, and now it is. Neither was social media. That was not a thing. The internet was in its infancy.
Oh my God, yeah.
Everything was a bulletin board.
Prodigy.
All I would say is exactly. I love Prodigy. What I would say is before you retweet or repost something, just check other sources first. That's all.
Yep.
Because I did see a post going around Facebook about a cop in New Haven, but that picture and that story was from 3 or 4 years ago.
Yes.
And that guy is not a cop anymore. So everyone's emotions are really high. Someone who's, say, protesting in New Haven sees that picture, they think it's now, and they get upset, and then it could possibly cause a whole thing.
Yep.
So just check sources. That's all.
Fact check everything. It's good advice in life and as well as fantasy football. fact check everything. I was going to tell a good fact check story as my final thought, and now it just flew out of my head.
Yep.
Damn you, Steve Austin's Broken Skull IPA.
Like in computer world and IT land, if a file doesn't exist in 3 different places, it doesn't exist.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Absolutely true. Oh, God, what was my fact check story? All right, I'll have to save it for next week.
All right.
So my final thought is, we just talked about best ball starting up. Go find yourself a best ball league, folks.
Oh, it's fun.
A great time.
Just
and I think I've said this each of the last 3 years.
He has.
I don't know how long I have to keep saying it, but I'll keep saying it. Best ball is great practice for draft season. Last year, I did 21 best ball drafts. And they were all like $1 entry, $5
quarter
entry, $10 entry. Yep. I think all told, they spent about $100 on best ball last year, and I returned some obscene number that I said, well, that tells me I can be up. I spent like $100. I came back like $103.50.
Hey, you know what? You broke even. You had fun.
I broke even. I had fun, but more importantly, I got to see what other people were thinking. 2 years ago, I famously sat in 2 roads by myself while my wife was doing yoga outside, and I was sitting there. I said, I'm gonna do a best ball, and that one was the one where the guy took Watson in the first round. Might have been last year or the year before. Took Watson in the first round, and then in the chat room proceeded to lecture us all about how he was going to win the league because Deshaun Watson was going to take over the league this year, and he was going to be massive, and you're all going to regret it. I think in that same draft, I took like Ezekiel Elliott as a rookie in the first round, and that guy finished like 9th, and I won the league. So my point is, you start to look at what other people are thinking, and knowing what other people's draft strategies are helps you formulate yours. I'm playing a lot of Hearthstone lately during the stay at home when I'm stuck at home in the evenings after work. And there's a battlegrounds, which if you've ever heard of auto chess, it's essentially auto chess. But there's these different groups of players different groups of strategies you can put together. If I look and it tells you what strategy someone's going after just by saying, well, it's got 5 of this class or it's got 4 of this class, it just tells you. If I look at the list and I see 6 of the 8 players in this auto chess game are all playing Demon, I don't play Demon because we're all competing for the same resources. I play a different class. I play Murlocs, which it only makes sense if you actually know Warcraft.
Damn those things.
In this game, they're fantastic. They are fantastic if you can pump them up. You have to try it, Craig. You would actually like this game a great deal. I know you've played Hearthstone, but you would like the Battlegrounds version of Hearthstone a great deal. But knowing what your opponent's doing in gaming and in fantasy football helps you craft an alternative theory. Hearthstone is a game made in balance in that every build has some sort of weakness to it. When I know what build you're using, I can plan to exploit your weakness. In fantasy football, if I know you're keying in on running backs and wide receivers early, I can exploit that weakness. I'm going to get Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. And then I'm going to fill on running backs and wide receivers that are probably maybe a grade or 2 lower than yours, but way better grade-wise than the quarterback and tight end you're going to end up with. Use best ball to figure out what other people are doing and formulate your strategy. You'll be better prepared on draft day. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. And you can do it from the comfort of your couch. So, all right, until next week, we will be back next week. Season's winding down.
The podcast season, not football season.
Podcast season is winding down. Our season debut is scheduled to happen in 3 weeks.
Nice.
We have to start working on our rankings. We haven't done anything.
It's hard when no one's doing anything.
And we're going to release right before July 4th. Do you know how hard it's going to be to get rankings from our team? They're going to be like, just record after July 4th. No, the season opener is scheduled to release July 3rd. You need to give me rankings now. It's going to be hard enough getting them online for the opener. So,
yep.
We're going to start working on that. But in the meantime, reach out to us however you'd like. I am back firing up the Twitter because I always do back at the end of near end of June or beginning of June rather. And then through the season, we are at Fignuts DFS on Twitter. You can reach us via email, fignutsdfs@gmail.com. please leave us a review wherever you listen to us. And whatever you do, be safe, be open-minded, be the change you want to see in this crazy world of ours. Until next week, my name is Britt,
I'm Craig.
and we are the Football Fignuts Podcast.